Well, sometimes it feels like not much is going on, and then all of a sudden it feels like all kinds of things are going on. This is the Haven 12.5. I've decided to cold mold this, and I believe in the last episode I was making some cold molding strips. You can see that I've got 3 on this side. The strips I got out of Western red cedar, and I've got a whole bunch of them down here on the floor in front of the boat. I've made, last count I had, I think 47 or 48. You can see they're very thin, very flexible. Most of these are between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch thick. They're just these very thin veneers. And see how flexible that is? These are 8 feet. I got a planer, which I've been wanting to do for some time. I like this Wen planer. It's the I had to order it, but I got it on Amazon. And I actually got it in 2 days on Amazon Prime, which was way faster than it could have been ordered to go pick up at like Lowe's or Home Depot. You can see I've got a couple of strips up here. I have used this and gotten these strips milled down to, like I said, between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm doing is I went and I sanded everything down. I filled all the screw holes with epoxy, and none of this was really sexy. I just filled them all full of epoxy and then sanded the whole thing down again. I have made a fillet along the keel, so we filled in any gaps between that, I guess you'd call it the garboard, that first plank along the keel, and got that sealed up. Got my edges back here on the transom all sanded down, epoxied, and sealed, and then got that all sanded down smooth. Tore up my beautiful finish job I had on the transom, but it was just fiberglass and epoxy, so it's got to be varnished and finished anyway. So anyway, so I started putting these strips on here, and you got to take an angle at it. I decided to go diagonally against the cedar strips, which is also then diagonally against the inside frames. So we're going to have a 3-way diagonal going here. I am not going to do another layer over on top of this. It's going to be overkill. I am going to fiberglass over these, and at the moment then the trick is just get these on here smooth. When I go to put them on here, the first one obviously laid down pretty easy, but then when you go to put the one next to it, you want to try to get it as close as you can. And even coming back through this back part of the chine and into the shear, it takes a kind of odd bit of a twist. You see how many staples are in there? I could not get that to lay flat down on there without just putting as many staples in there as I did. And of course I'm learning as I'm going, because this is the first time I've ever done this. You would notice I had that other one strip on the other side. I had that one cut to go on this side, and I put my thickened epoxy on it, except I didn't put it on the back of it, I put it on the front of it. So I went to lay it on here, and the miter up at the top was wrong. So my only choice was just to run around to the other side and just go ahead and lay a strip on there. Well, the side's prepared, that's okay. And I put it on there, and it laid on there pretty good. I wasn't really planning on coming over to this side tonight, but I did. As far as how I'm putting this on here, I'm using the West System epoxy and just the 205 hardener. It's still the 1st of March, and I'm in my garage, and even though I've got a bit of a heater in here, it's relatively cool. So I don't need the slow hardener at this point. And I've been mixing this up in these little cups, just like this here. I kind of got lucky. I went with 3 squirts, 3 full pumps of both the resin and the hardener. And then I used this 406 blend largely because I was out of the 405. I think I'm going to prefer the 405. This stuff has got it's like these little micro balls. I don't think I can open this and hold the camera, but it's a little white micro balloon ball things. It's easier to sand, and it does thicken, but it's hard to mix in. Anyway, it takes about, I'm going to say 3 teaspoons full, maybe 4 teaspoons full mixed in the pot after you've got the epoxy thoroughly mixed. And I mixed the epoxy for, around 2 minutes or so with the hardener before I ever put any of the filler in. And then you got to mix that in there. You just keep mixing it until you get it to a consistency that you want. I would say I'm going with about a mayonnaise consistency, not as thick as you would go with a filleting blend. Here's my cup I was using on this one. That's starting to harden up in there, and I went off. And then I'm just using a chip brush. And I learned a trick from tips from a shipwright. He takes the scissors and cuts off about half of the bristle to kind of stiffen it up. Of course, this is just going to be shot. I'm going to have to throw it away. But, I buy these by the dozen. They're like, 65 cents each or $1 each or something. I don't care. I'm going to go through some epoxy. I already ordered some more from Jamestown. It should be on its way. It's going to take quite a bit. And, staples. I'm using my Aero T50 here. And I started out using a 5/16 staple. That looks like that. Is that the 1/2 inch? Yeah, here's the 5/16. But then I as I was stapling into this, I realized that they weren't holding it down as good as I needed it to. The cedar strips that are already down there, as you might remember, those are 3/8 of an inch thick, and then these laminates or veneers are, like I said, between a 1/16 and an 1/8. So I felt like 1/2 inch might go all the way through, but I actually needed to hold them down. They don't want to stay down. When I put this second one down, I was running up against this edge here, and it was too tight. I wanted to overlap, and I had to really kind of force it. Well, when I did that, it bent it out on the other side. I guess it was this one. You can see how many staples I've got in the edge here holding it down. And something I've noticed is that then when I step back away from it and look at it, you can see, you can't now because I nailed them all down, but you could see where it was lifted up a little bit, where it just wasn't flush with it. And I just had to go back in and put some more staples in it to hold it down. I'm going to be real interested to see what this looks like in the morning. This hole is so pretty the way it was. I just feel like I'm making a big mess on top of it. I hope I'm not making a bad mistake. But I also know if I can get this on here and get it right and then fiberglass over the top of it, I can get it very smooth. It's going to take some work, and there's going to be probably some more epoxy work to do on top of this, and then of course a fiberglass cloth on top of that. And I know I can get it real smooth, but I know this is going to add a level of strength to this that I would otherwise not have. So anyway, it's coming. I don't know how many of these strips I'm going to need. I tried to figure out the square footage on this, and it's rather complex. I think I'm going to probably need about twice as many as what I've got right now, but we can at least get started. Boy, you cut these, it sure creates a lot of sawdust. Well, anyway, where's the sailing ship? There she is. All right, that's it for tonight.